Welcome to my YouTube channel. As a middle-aged man who has been faithfully watching these complex family dynamics unfold for many years, I find myself deeply moved by the current emotional landscape on our screens. Watching the younger generation navigate the incredibly messy, painful waters of love and betrayal brings back so many vivid memories of the classic rivalries that first hooked us on daytime television. It honestly makes my heart heavy to see the innocent, beautiful friendships of youth shattered by the harsh and complicated reality of romantic entanglement. When I look at the screen today, I do not just see fictional characters acting out a script. I see the raw, unfiltered human experience of jealousy, intense longing, and devastating heartbreak. It constantly makes me wonder if any of these young folks will ever manage to learn from the glaring mistakes of their parents, or if they are permanently doomed to repeat the exact same tragic cycles of heartbreak that have defined these legacy families for generations. The absolute destruction of the once beautiful friendship between Electra and Dylan is honestly one of the most painful things I have witnessed in recent memory. Seeing Electra, our passionate and dedicated jeweler, discover that her supposed best friend has completely fallen for Will is a massive gut punch that resonates deeply with anyone who has ever experienced a severe betrayal of trust. When Electra lashed out with those incredibly harsh insults and ultimately slapped Dylan across the face, I physically flinched in my living room. My heart truly aches for Electra in that specific moment because that kind of extreme physical reaction only comes from a place of profound, agonizing emotional pain and a feeling of complete helplessness. You can see the absolute devastation swimming in her eyes, knowing that the person she trusted most in the entire world spent the night with the man she desperately loves. Is there any possible way a once solid friendship can ever recover from such a violent, emotional rupture? On the other hand, I find myself deeply conflicted and highly critical when I try to analyze Dylan's specific motivations in this whole tragic mess. Dylan firmly insists that they only shared a kiss and absolutely nothing more, but in the realm of emotional fidelity, the line has clearly already been crossed. I sit here and listen to Dylan justify her controversial actions by claiming she is simply following her true feelings, and it frustrates me to an incredible degree. She boldly declared to Electra that not everything in the universe revolves around her, which feels incredibly selfish and highly dismissive of the sacred foundational bond of female friendship. Yet, a very small part of me understands the blinding, highly irrational nature of young, unrequited love. Dylan is desperately hoping for a real, tangible chance with Will, and she appears completely willing to burn her entire social world to the ground to secure it. I have to ask myself, will this reckless, destructive pursuit of love truly bring Dylan the happiness she craves, or will she end up completely alone? As much as I deeply sympathize with Electra's profound sense of betrayal, I also feel compelled to critically evaluate how her own intense actions have significantly contributed to this disastrous situation with young Will. Electra clearly views Dylan's actions as the ultimate unforgivable treason, but her overwhelming possessiveness might actually be the exact thing pushing Will further and further away from her grasp. I watch Will's facial expressions, and I clearly see a young man who is deeply exhausted by the constant, draining emotional whiplash surrounding him. He is seriously doubting the foundational strength of his relationship with Electra, rightly pointing out that she has abandoned him multiple times in the past. I feel a strong sense of pride seeing him finally recognize his own inherent worth and actively hesitate before blindly jumping back into what appears to be a highly toxic cycle. If Electra continues down this dark path of righteous indignation, I strongly predict that she will permanently alienate the very man she is fighting so desperately to keep. And of course, we absolutely cannot discuss Will's complicated romantic life without thoroughly examining the relentless, overbearing interference of his mother, Katie. Oh, Katie. It absolutely boils my blood and frustrates me beyond words, watching her meddle in her grown son's personal affairs with such heavy-handed, unapologetic manipulation that I have always respected Katie's sharp intelligence over the years. But her current unwavering obsession with pushing Will towards Electra is incredibly infuriating to watch unfold. She has made it abundantly clear that she does not trust Dylan at all, viewing her merely as a malicious obstacle actively trying to tear Will and Electra apart. My strong personal opinion is that Katie is heavily projecting her own past traumas and her deep-seated desires for family unity directly onto her son, completely ignoring what might actually bring him genuine peace. I confidently predict that her constant, relentless pushing and her romanticizing of a grand Forrester and Spencer reunion will ultimately backfire spectacularly, driving a massive wedge between her and Will. Shifting our focus away from the turbulent younger crowd, the incredibly dire situation currently unfolding in the breathtakingly beautiful setting of Monaco is absolutely breaking my heart into a million pieces. The stunning, ultra-glamorous European backdrop serves as such a cruel, highly ironic contrast to the ugly, incredibly painful deterioration of Steffi and Finn's once beautiful marriage. I have passionately rooted for these two individuals for so long, joyfully celebrating their romantic triumphs and crying genuine tears during their numerous tragedies. So watching them reach this devastating, seemingly final breaking point fills me with a profound, overwhelming sense of sadness. Steffi has finally come to the agonizing, soul-crushing realization that they simply cannot continue this endless, highly toxic cycle of arguing back and forth about Sheila. It is incredibly painful and deeply unsettling to watch a legendary love story that once felt so completely invincible slowly crumble and disintegrate under the heavy weight of external manipulation and severe internal mistrust. When Steffi finally broke down and fully confided in Carter, bravely pouring out her deepest fears and highly guarded insecurities, I genuinely felt a massive lump form in my throat. She openly admitted that she simply cannot trust her own chosen husband to protect her from his biological mother, and that is an absolutely terrifying, nightmare-inducing reality for any spouse to face on a daily basis. For Steffi, Finn's consistent inability to establish an impenetrable, permanent wall against Sheila is not just a minor character flaw, it is a fundamental, catastrophic lack of loyalty and commitment to their immediate family. I completely and wholeheartedly agree with Steffi's harsh evaluation of this deeply troubled situation. A marriage absolutely must serve as a safe, impenetrable sanctuary from the outside world, and if you do not feel physically and emotionally safe with your life partner, what do you really have left to hold on to? How long can a strong woman realistically be expected to live in a state of constant fear before she saves herself? Looking closely at Finn, I experience a highly complicated, deeply conflicting mix of mild pity and intense, overwhelming frustration. I hear him repeatedly say the right comforting words. He strongly insists that he fully understands Sheila has absolutely no place in their daily lives, but his subsequent actions consistently and repeatedly tell a completely different, highly concerning story. As a dedicated husband myself, I firmly believe that your absolute primary duty is to ensure the safety, security, and total peace of mind of your wife, and Finn is failing miserably and spectacularly at this most fundamental, basic task. He appears to be completely paralyzed by this unnatural, highly toxic biological pull toward a deeply disturbed woman who has brought absolutely nothing but pure terror and utter destruction to his beloved family. My unwavering personal opinion is that Finn is incredibly, unforgivably weak in this specific regard, and his tragic, ongoing inability to match his comforting words with decisive, highly protective actions is the exact lethal poison currently killing his marriage. The absolute most chilling and deeply disturbing aspect of this entire slow-motion marital collapse is the terrifying, unavoidable realization of Sheila's omnipresent dark power. She does not even need to be physically present in the same room or even residing in the same country to completely and utterly destroy their hard-won happiness and domestic peace. Her dark, suffocating shadow heavily looms over every single conversation, every passing look, and every fleeting moment of physical intimacy between Steffi and Finn. I sit here in my home and deeply marvel at the immense psychological toll this relentless pressure takes on the characters, and honestly, on us as dedicated viewers who have anxiously watched Sheila aggressively wreak havoc for several decades. It is a masterful, yet deeply, profoundly disturbing evaluation of exactly how unresolved, lingering trauma and highly toxic family ties can quietly infect a marriage from the inside out until there is nothing left but resentment. Will Steffi ever truly, completely be free of Sheila's terrifying influence? Hearing Steffi finally, resolutely utter those devastating, life-altering words, firmly telling Finn that their marriage is officially over, sent a literal, freezing cold shiver straight down my spine. There was a chilling, undeniable finality in the specific tone of her voice that felt entirely, drastically different from their numerous, heated previous arguments. I felt a profound, heavy sense of grief completely wash over me, actively mourning the tragic death of a romantic relationship that once held so much incredible promise. At the same time, seeing Steffi naturally turn to Carter as her trusted confidant makes my mind actively race with countless exciting romantic possibilities. Carter has consistently proven himself to be a massive pillar of unyielding strength, a highly moral man who deeply understands true loyalty. My bold, highly confident prediction is that as Steffi painfully navigates the devastating wreckage of her impending divorce from Finn, she might just find unexpected emotional comfort and a beautiful new romantic beginning in the safe, reliable arms of Carter. As I finally sit back and deeply reflect on all of this highly intertwined, incredibly complex daytime drama, I am profoundly struck by how masterfully this beloved show consistently captures the beautiful, incredibly messy, and often agonizing reality of the fragile human heart. From the explosive, highly volatile, youthful passion currently tearing Electra, Dylan, and Will apart, to the deep, incredibly complex, and mature marital tragedy painfully unfolding between Steffi and Finn, my personal emotions are completely, thoroughly drained in the absolute best possible way. This intense emotional connection is exactly why I have remained a highly dedicated, unwavering viewer for all these long years. The show constantly forces us to deeply look in the mirror and critically question our own personal boundaries, our own deeply held loyalties, and our own infinite capacity for grace and forgiveness. I am anxiously, impatiently counting down the very hours until the next highly anticipated episode, desperately needing to know exactly how these beautifully fractured souls will ever manage to pick up the scattered, broken pieces of their lives.